to sleep, for they can then pursue their pranks and gambols to very much better advantage. But presently a kind of long sigh ran through Department A, and in another moment a perfect babel of sounds arose and swelled upon the air. There was the mooing of cows, the bleating of woolly sheep, the crying of baby dolls, the choo-choo of iron steam cars. Suddenly the French walking doll, who had never been known to walk a step in the daytime unless she was wound up with a key, made a frantic spring from her box on the highest shelf, and landing lightly on her toes, came dancing and pirouetting down the center aisle, lightly swaying from side to side, now this way, now that. Onward she came. And then bedlam broke loose. The big auto that had stood patiently all day right in front of the middle door started up a fearful tooting of its Gabriel horn, and dashing madly and wildly down a side aisle, came very near upsetting the big Noah's Ark, from whose door the occupants were streaming, led by Mr. Noah and his family. In one corner, a whole regiment of leaden soldiers began to drill by companies. Company, attention! Present arms! Order arms! Parade, rest! The little lead captain's voice rang out bravely. To be sure, it was somewhat husky, but then he might have somehow taken cold, for the weather was severe, and Department A very badly heated at night. It should have been a competitive drill, but after a little the lead soldiers became impatient. They all wished to maneuver at once. It grew impossible to hear any of the command, although the captain shouted until he was red in the face. The confusion was terrible. Now a great growling of lions and tigers and trumpeting of elephants arose from the shelf where the big menagerie stood. In vain the keeper rushed about, wielding his long whip. But who cares a snap for a keeper when he is made of wood and only about 6 inches high? Not the animals, not they. They would have torn each other to pieces had not their attention been suddenly attracted by the ascension of a big fire balloon that had been left over from 4th of July and forgotten. The balloon did very well, considering, until it reached the ceiling, where it stuck and caught fire. Here indeed was a serious situation. The balloon flamed furiously, and the paper dolls, who were located close by, set up a terrible shrieking, which was promptly joined in by all the other toys. Goodness only knows how the affair would have culminated had not the Iron Hook and Ladder Company just then come dashing down the aisle, closely followed by the chemical engine and the lofty water tower. It was the work of but a few seconds to set up the tall ladders, and every one of the fainting paper dolls was carried to a place of safety by the gallant cast-iron fire laddies. To be sure, the paper dolls were many, many times taller than their brave rescuers, but then they were so light in weight that their greater height did not make the smallest particle of difference. In the midst of all the hullabaloo, the bears suddenly realized that they, too, were alive, and came swarming and scurrying out of their cage, which, fortunately for them, had been built without a top, tumbling over each other in their anxiety to be first in the scrimmage. Their appearance tended somewhat to calm matters down, as all the other toys were anxious to meet the newcomers, and came crowding around, shaking hands in a very friendly way. All except the lead soldiers, who were all in the guard-house, having been ordered thither for insubordination. The big woolly ram with gilt horns even went so far as to apologize for the absence of order, which